Okay, hi guys, and welcome. Today we are talking about going to places and places that we can talk about. What was it like? What did we see? What did we do there? And then we're also going to talk about the time because we also want to know how to tell someone maybe what time we were there or what time we want to meet someone somewhere. So really important things to talk about, places and telling the time. And let's get into it. So let's get into our class. This is what we were looking at, Flinders Street Station. And it's a place in Melbourne. And it's a place in Melbourne that is known as the meeting place because everybody knows it in Melbourne. So if you want to meet up with someone, you could say, I'll see you at the Flinders Street Station at 6 o'clock, at 10:30. So we're telling someone a location, where do we want to meet them, and at what time. So we looked at this photo. We looked at being able to tell the time. Now I have this great image here. So again, let's talk about telling the time. So, hi, Franco. Sorry again. We had to change classes, but now we are back into our classroom. And hi, Yaneth. So Franco and Yaneth, welcome. And everyone else, welcome. Okay, so telling the time, really important. If it's in the red section, the big hand. So we call this the big hand and this one the little hand. If the big hand is in the red section, usually we say past, except if it's on the 3, we say quarter, and if it's on the 6, we say half. If the big hand is anywhere in the yellow, we say 2. So you got to remember 2. And if it's on the 9, we say quarter. If it's on the 12, we say o'clock. So if you look at this time, this will be, it's 6 o'clock. So 6 o'clock means the big hand is on the 12 and the little hand is on the 6. You could say it's 6 o'clock or it's 6. That's fine. You can stop your sentence there. This time here, so this would be, it's 3:30. Because you remember I said if the big hand is on the 6 and the little hand is on the 3, that would be it's 3:30 or it's 3:30. So 2 options. We looked at this time, 9:25, or it's 25 minutes past 9, because the big hand would be 25 minutes here. The big hand would be here and the little hand would be here. It's a little bit hard to show you without the real time. This time is 3:45 or it's 3:45, because the big hand would be here and the little hand would be near the 4. Okay, we looked at these other times. It's 2:03 or it's 3 minutes past 2, because we know past, anywhere in the red, we say past, in the yellow, 2. So the time in this image, what would you say it is? What time is in this image? The big hand is in the yellow area, which means that it's in the 2, and the little hand is by the 5. So I think it looks like that this big hand is 2. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 25 minutes to, and it's going to be, it's going to change to 5 o'clock. So 25 to 5 or 5:35. Can you see how that this time is 5:35, sorry, or 25 to 6? Because when this one goes all the way to the 12, this one is going to come to the 6. So that means it's going to be 6 o'clock. It's 25 to 6, because it will be 6 o'clock. It's going to 6. Does that help you think of it that way? It's going to, it's going towards, coming to. In the past means behind, you know, so okay, I said a really important thing, so I'm just going to say it again. When we meet people, we usually like to say, okay, I'll see you at 6 p.m. What time do you have breakfast? I have breakfast at 10 a.m. What time is your appointment? My appointment is at 10:30 a.m. So we like to say a.m. and p.m. after the time. It's just very common. So you could say that. What time is your English class? Oh, it's at 5 p.m. or it's at 5. Doesn't matter, but it's common to say a.m. and p.m. Okay, we had a reading we were going to do now. Now, this is about 4 places: London, Tokyo, Bogota, and Melbourne. And the title is No Car Zone. So that means no cars, an area where there is no cars. Cars are not allowed. So I'll read first, and then you can repeat after me to practice your pronunciation. Okay, so let's read together. So no car zones. Many people in cities have cars, but pollution is often a problem because of the traffic. Nowadays, some city centers around the world don't have cars. These no car zones are areas for people, bicycles, and public transport. London, 80 million people live in the center of London, and another 2 million people go to work there every day. The city center is very noisy with hundreds of cars, buses, and taxis. But there are also a lot of beautiful parks with free music concerts. At lunchtime and after work, many people go there for a break. Tokyo. In the Ginza area of Tokyo, there are no cars. This modern day no car zone is very popular, and people like shopping there. So it's always crowded with hundreds of people. Bogota. In the past, Bogota was polluted because there was lots of traffic. Now the city center is a no car zone and the air is clean. Many people don't have a car, and 500,000 people go to work by bus every morning. Melbourne. In some cities, people don't like shopping in the city, in the center. But in Melbourne, Bourke Street is popular because there are lots of great shops and no cars. It's expensive, but lots of people eat lunch in the small cafes. Okay, so let's get back into what we were looking at. We just read the article about no car zones, and we looked at all these places. So, you know, why aren't there any cars in London? And that's because there's parks, because of the park. Sorry, where aren't there any cars? And that's in the parks. And why do people go there? for a break. For a break. We could say they go there after work for a break. Yeah, to enjoy some time to, for lunch. Yeah. In Tokyo, where are there areas where there's no cars? That's in the Ginza area. And why do people go there? And they go there for shopping. So that was in Tokyo. In Bogota, we read that in the city center, that's an area where there are no cars. And why do people go there? For work. So there's lots of jobs, lots of work there. And in Melbourne, which is in Australia, we have Bourke Street, which is like Rundle Mall. If you've been to Rundle Mall, it's very much the same. So no cars go there, okay? It's just people, they can walk through. There's lots of shops, lots of restaurants, shopping. So why do people go to this area? I just gave the answer a little bit. For shopping and to eat lunch, because there's lots of great cafes. So, okay, so no car zones mean areas where there are no cars. And usually it's places like shopping malls, maybe a certain area on the beach, maybe like, in Europe, you'll have a place where they call it the plaza, where everybody meets. So it's areas like that. Okay, so we have some adjectives. We use adjectives when we want to describe something. So we know that when we have an object, we looked at that a couple of lessons ago, we can talk about what it looks like, what it feels like, what it tastes like, anything. So an adjective gives us information about the object. But when we talk about a place, we're going to use adjectives like free. So maybe, there's free parking. Or if something doesn't cost money, it's free. Yeah, it was cheap. It was free. Or cheap and free are very different. Free means no money. You didn't pay for it. It was free parking. It was, something didn't cost anything. If many people like a place, we say it's popular. We could say, you should go to Glenelg Beach. It's a popular area. It just means many people enjoy going there. They go there. It's popular. Lots of people go there. But not just because if it has a lot of people, that means that it's crowded, busy, or packed. So I'm giving you an extra word here, packed. Like if I say, oh my God, how was the park yesterday? Oh, it was so packed, crowded. But popular means people like it, but doesn't necessarily mean that it's busy. It just means that many people like this place. It's popular. But if too many, like a lot of people, you say it's crowded. So you could say, yeah, Glenelg Beach is popular and crowded. Okay, if the air is very bad, we say it's polluted. So pollution, because the car from the factories, it's just the air is polluted. You could smell it, you can probably see it. The air is polluted. The opposite to that would be fresh. You'd say, wow, in Australia, it's such fresh air. So we say fresh air as the opposite. If something is very good, we say, yeah, it was great. The place was great. The place was really nice. The place was, enjoyable. It was just nice, beautiful. We're going to look at the opposites. So if we have a quiet place, that means, it's not crowded. The opposite would be noisy. Noisy means I can hear a lot of noise, maybe just people talking a lot, or just the busyness of the people and the people trying to sell something to everyone and cars, and it's just noisy. Like the noise is very loud, it's noisy. If something is ugly, we don't usually say a place is ugly, but we usually say this one, the opposite. A place is beautiful. It was so stunning. It was just very relaxing. I think Edward, or did you ask me how was the excursion yesterday? Or somebody asked me how was the excursion? I said, Did you ask me? Yeah. And I said to you, yeah, it was beautiful. I said the parks were, you know, the parklands were just very beautiful. It was relaxing. Remember? I said that to you. So I'm telling you how I feel about a place. What did I feel? It was beautiful. If something is old, because we could have, you know, old buildings, ancient buildings. The opposite would be new. You know, it was a very modern building. It was a very modern place. Young, but we don't really talk about it for place, but I'm just showing you another adjective. Maybe that's not good because we don't say that for a place. If something is dirty, the opposite would be clean and fresh. Yeah, it was just clean, fresh, clean. Clean really is the most popular word to say, common. If something is cheap, we've got expensive. Okay, the food was very expensive. Remember at the festival, we've been saying the food was really expensive or costly. They're the same words. It was really costly. That means expensive. It cost a lot of money. If something is big, the opposite is small. You know, there was small buildings, there was tiny buildings, there was little garden area. There was, yeah. Okay, so now you're going to talk about your city and the places that are in it. Now, remember, a city is like saying Adelaide, but the places in it is like the museum, the art gallery, the botanic gardens, the festival, you know, the shopping malls. So places doesn't mean the city. So I've got an example here, and then you'll write your own. So in Brazil, I don't remember who wrote this one, but in Brazil, in the city of São Paulo, no. São Paulo. See, so Paulo. It's very hard, this word. Sao Paulo. In Brazil, in the city of Sao Paulo, there is a neighborhood. Now, a neighborhood means an area where people live. It's a neighborhood, okay? An area where people live that is very famous for selling cheap clothes. This neighborhood is Brás, you know? It was my favorite place to do my clothes shopping. So this person that wrote about a place, they're showing us, they're using adjectives to describe what it was like and what you can do there. Okay, so you're going to write your own. Okay, so write about your city or a city you visited. So it doesn't just have to be your city, but a city you visited. Now, don't forget, don't talk about everything. Pick places that are in there and use your adjectives. Tell us what it was like. Was it beautiful? Maybe you had a bad experience and it was very awful. It was crowded. It was so noisy. There was lots of rubbish on the streets or people were just rude. I don't know. You tell me. So let's look at some examples. I'll show you one from this one from Dickerson. Okay, and if you want, add a picture of yourself when you're there. So this is Dickerson in, he writes, Barikara or Barichara is a town in Colombia. So don't forget capital letters for names of places, known as the most beautiful town in Colombia. Okay, he's using his adjective. Barichara stands out. That means that you could just look at it and you know for its culture and history. So it's known for its culture and history. Like you go there, you will see culture, you'll feel it, enjoy, you know, you'll have that experience there. It's a very beautiful and relaxing place. Okay, so that's Dickerson in Barichara. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I'll read one more from Adriano. So that's an image of Adriano's place. You know, my city is a small city in the state of Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo. It has 10,000 inhabitants. That means people who live there. It has beautiful places such as waterfall, places for hiking, and restaurants with tasty food. Okay, so that's actually a very good writing from Adriano. He's telling you that what is nice about this place. Okay, so write up yours and add it. If you don't have Facebook, you can read it and I'll help you with the English, and we'll come back and we'll read your writing. Okay, so 5 minutes to do that. Okay, sorry, I just had the on floating.
Yes.
Yes,
Diving.
jumping like into diving into the water.
Yes.
Floating is like when you sit in the water. Yeah,
Yes. Floating.
floating. I'm wondering what you mean by floating. No, scuba diving.
Diving.
Yes. So people like to go there to dive, which is scuba diving. I mean, that's scuba dive. To scuba dive with not with fish, because that means you're going together with them. Yeah, yeah, scuba diving, but also this one is called snorkeling.
Snorkeling, yes.
So to go there to scuba dive, comma, snorkel, and even to climb up on the like the cliff.
Yes.
Yeah, and even to climb the hill, the cliff, maybe the cliff, because if it's by the water, that's called a cliff.
Yes.
So you've got mountains, you've got
Mountains,
yeah. So let's have a look. Okay, Bonito is a city in Brazil known for its natural beauty. Rivers with crystal clear waters, caves, and waterfalls. People like to go there to scuba dive, snorkel, and even to climb the cliff. Yeah, beautiful. I wish we could see a photo. Try to send me again the photo. I'm not sure why, but I will add it here. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Now, I had this good one, this great one, which was from, I had this great one I wanted to read to you guys because it was from, Lewis. So Lewis writes here, so this is an image of the place that he wants to share, this one. Does anyone know where that is? Bogota. So Lewis says, Bogota is a city with 11,508,000 inhabitants. It is a fairly large city. I like that he says that, fairly large. He's saying it's not too large, but it's fairly large. So fairly is like a little bit less than very, very much. So it's not, you know, a big, large city, but it's quite fairly large with a lot of history in the center. There are many places to visit here. In the city center, there are stores with everything you could need, and the products are very affordable. So he's telling us that you can go here and buy stuff. It's very affordable. So, you know, not very expensive. One particular beautiful place is a church on a mountain that can only be reached by foot. Such a stunning city. I'll just quickly fix this one from George. A long time ago, he wrote about Bogota. So my city is very crowded in the morning for the work to the school. Okay, so George should say, in my city, it can get very crowded during, so we usually say during the morning because of people getting to school or work. Okay, and then I'm going to put a full stop. It was a very long sentence. So in my city, it can get very crowded. Remember, crowded means lots of people. During the morning, because of people getting or traveling, maybe you can say traveling to school or work, to school or work, full stop. Because of people, all right, traveling to school or work. We don't say in, we say on the weekend, it is. So on the weekend, it is the most difficult for the traffic. In English, we say on the weekend, the traffic is even worse. So that means it's already bad in the week, but on the weekend, it's even more bad. So on the weekend, the traffic is even worse. For visits to family, the traffic is even worse. The traffic is even worse. So if you are, no, the traffic is even, so the traffic is worse as people are visiting their families, other places, or relaxing. If you're relaxing, you're not really on the road. So I would say on the weekend, the traffic is worse as people are visiting their families and places, maybe full stop. There may also be traffic jams on weekends from 2 to 4 or more. So I'll cut that sentence off. We kind of already know that. Or I'll just say traffic jams from 2 to 4 p.m. But, so when you give like a negative, you know, you're saying something is not good, you could say, but besides that, it's the same as saying, but even though, but besides that, Bogota is very beautiful. It's very beautiful. It has very strange climates. As in one part, it may be raining, and in the other, it may be sunny. Interesting. Yeah, did you know that in Bogota? So one area could be rain, the other area is sunny. So he's saying, but besides that, Bogota is very beautiful. It has very strange climate, as in one part it may be raining, and in the other it may be sunny. I might leave this sentence here at the end. So, but, because he kind of gave a bit of negative, the traffic, you know, he talked about the traffic not good. He talked about the strange climate. And then at the end, but besides that, Bogota is very beautiful. Okay, so that was from George a while ago. But Franco, great image. So this is from Franco. He's sharing a place. And it says, my city, Argentina, which I have been there. I love Argentina. So my city in Argentina is not very big. It's a small city surrounded by rivers and lagoons with 450,000 inhabitants. I might put that number just a little bit up. So my city in Argentina is not very big. Estimated at 4,000. Remember, we use comma, not full stop. My city in Argentina is not very big, as it is estimated to be at 450,000 inhabitants. It's a small city surrounded by. So when we say surrounded by, that means like what is around it. So surrounded by rivers and lagoons. Lagoons are just like, they're not rivers. It's not as big as a river. It's not as big as a lake. It's just a little water area. It's very hot in summer. We don't say on. It's very hot in summer. I would say it can get very hot in summer, just to give you a different grammar. It can get extremely. I remember I went in summer. I went in the end of December, beginning of February. So it can get extremely hot in summer and very cold in winter. In summer, the thermal sensation, it doesn't sound very natural way of speaking. We say in summer, the temperature. We're very simple. So the temperature can reach.
It's not the same.
Sorry?
It's not the same.
Yes, but it's not casual language.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit too formal. But yeah, you wrote on winter, the thermal sensation. Yeah, it's not the way that we speak. It's more writing, like if you're writing an essay or, you know, it's not very casual language. So I'm going to just change it. In summer, the temperature can reach 50 degrees Celsius. So if you do want to write it, I would just put 50C like that. But we say it 50 degrees Celsius. Remember, say the symbol at the end. It can reach 50 degrees Celsius. I would say while in winter, the temperature drops to under 0 degrees. So I might just take off the C, and just to make it sound more flowing with the way that we speak. While in winter, the temperature drops to under 4 degrees. It is not a very interesting city, but it's my city. I like that. It's not, so maybe, because that's a fact. When you got to be careful, which we're going to look at now, the present simple. When you say is, it sounds like a fact. You know, it is this, it is busy, it's crowded, it's a beautiful city. That's a fact. Like a lot of people would agree. But with this one, because I find it an interesting city. So I would say, because you're giving your opinion, I would say it may not be an interesting city for some, but it's certainly my city. And that's beautiful. That's your hometown, your city. Okay, so good. Thank you for sharing that, Franco. And remember the temperature. So we say 50 degrees Celsius. Even if you want to write it that way, or you could just say, you know, it's 50 degrees. In winter, the temperature drops to under 0 degrees. Good. Who's next? Edward? Is this Edward? I think Edward's writing about Melbourne. I like that. Okay, so Melbourne, there's the image. Melbourne is a city bursting with life. Now remember, colorful, we have to have the British spelling, O-U-R. So Melbourne is a city bursting with life, colorful street art, delicious food, and a unique vibe. That's exactly it. That is exactly what Melbourne is. From quaint cafes, quaint means like they're very little and cute. They're very like cute little cafes in a good way. From quaint cafes to lively festivals, there's always something happening. Good sentence. It's the kind of place you want to explore leisurely. That means that, you know, you want to walk around nice and quiet. You want to explore this place nice and quietly. Soaking up, that means like taking in, soaking up every bit of its vibrant energy, because there's lots of like movement there. It's just really good. Okay, thanks to Edward. Who else has uploaded? Okay, so this is Yaneth's place that she is talking about. That's an image. And Yaneth says, Medellin is located in a valley. I like that. It's located in a valley. That means that there's like a hill here and there's a hill here. So it's like in a valley. In a valley surrounded by mountains in the central region of the Andes Mountains in South America, characterized by its warmth. Very long sentence. We need to have a full stop. So Medellin is located in a valley surrounded by mountains. Full stop. It is in the central region of the Andes. You can just say Andes because we know that they're the mountains in the Andes in South America. I might put that at the beginning. So it's good to kind of give details located with the country first. So Medellin is in the central region of the Andes in South America. So I'm going to talk about where its location is in the country first, and then what it looks like when I'm there. So it is located in a valley surrounded by mountains. It is characterized by, that's good, but just to give you a natural way of speaking, it is known by its warm and pleasant climate throughout the year. Full stop. Therefore is like, we don't use it in speaking. It's a bit formal. So we say so. So in casual language, so it is known as the city of eternal spring. I like that. The city of eternal spring. It is a beautiful city that stands out for its culture, gastronomy. So again, let's go a little bit casual. Food, for its culture, food, tourism, and industrialization. Remember the Z, we make it an S for the British English. So let's read this again now and see how it sounds better. Medellin is in the central region of the Andes in South America. It is located in a valley surrounded by mountains. It is known by its warm and pleasant climate throughout the year. Because I've got known twice, so it, maybe I'll change this one to has. It has warm and pleasant climate throughout the year. So it is known, that means people know it, like, you know, everybody knows this. So it is known as the City of Eternal Spring. It is a beautiful city that stands out for its culture, food, tourism, and industrialization. Thank you for sharing that. Beautiful. There you go, Medellin. Okay, we have Pho. This is an image that looks amazing. Very, like a lot of detail in this structure, building. Let's see what Pho has written. Okay, so we've heard of this city, Ho Chi Minh. Is that good pronunciation? Ho Chi Minh. Yeah, good. Okay, Ho Chi Minh City is a city in southern Vietnam, famous for its pivotal role in the Vietnam War. Good. I just want to make the English a little bit more easier. So famous for its part or for its time in the Vietnam War. So this was an area when the war was happening. This was a very location of what was happening in the war. So for its part, Ho Chi Minh City is a city in southern Vietnam, famous for its part. Yeah, I'll try and find another word, in the Vietnam War. Saigon is also known for its French colonial landmarks. I like that. So that means that the French came to this area, Saigon, and they did some building, so you could still see the French influence, how French people. So Saigon is also known. So Saigon is known. So Saigon, is this a different city to Ho Chi Minh? Pho. So Pho. Yeah. Is Saigon a different city to Ho Chi Minh? Different? Okay, so another city in Vietnam, is that right? Another city in Vietnam is Saigon, which is known for its French colonial landmarks, including Notre Dame Cathedral, which was built. So that must be the image of the Notre Dame Cathedral. Cathedral is like a church. It's just like, it looks like this, a cathedral. So not just a normal church, but a cathedral, which was built entirely with materials imported from France. And the central post. Okay, I might put a full stop. So when you speak about one sentence, it's about one information. When you want to talk about another, try and put a full stop and then talk about something else. So I'm going to put a full stop, not go and. So we can start a new sentence. The Central Post Office was built in the 19th century. Restaurants are located along the streets of Saigon, especially around the bustling Ben Ta market. Good. Beautiful. That just looks, that's the Notre Dame Cathedral. Very beautiful. Okay, good. So let's have a break because we are a little bit over, but I can see, yes, stunning. So I will add that to your post. So this was from Eloise. So you can go snorkeling and scuba diving. And I can see there's a boat here. And also, I know there's one more image. This is underwater. Very clear water.
Yes.
You're right. Very clear. That's so beautiful.
With fish.
Yes, snorkeling. So you can see this. It's very low, shallow water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not deep water. It's very shallow. I love it. Very crystal clear. So beautiful description of that. I'll add it to your post. Okay, let's have a break. When we'll come back, we'll read some more. Okay, Angeli says, beautiful photo, Colombia at night, stunning, the city lights. It's nice and spread out. It's not, the buildings are not like very close.
Yeah.
It's nice and, spread out, we say. Yes, yeah, it's flat, but kind of going up. Yeah, just before the mountains. So it's surrounded by mountains. Yeah. Okay, let's have a read. So, Cali, Cali, Colombia is a city that has, I'm not sure about this number. I would say that has around 2 million. Is that right? That has around 2 million inhabitants. Okay, so remember full stop. When you have one piece of information, put a full stop, start a new sentence. It is, no, sorry, the climate is warm. The climate is warm and the city is full of culture and music. Full stop. It is known. Good. I like that you're using it is known. That means people know this. It is known as the world capital of salsa. And so when we try and connect sentence, and has many places to visit and enjoy. Good. So I'll just read that again. Cali, Colombia is a city that has around. So that means I don't want to give an exact number, but just around. You know, it's better to say just around. That has around 2 million inhabitants. It's a pretty small. Yeah, it's a pretty small city. Yeah. The climate is warm and the city is full of culture and music. I might take this information and put it and the city is full of culture and music. So many places. There's so many places to visit and enjoy. It is known as the world capital of salsa. So I might end it there because that was a nice way. I just restructured it a little bit to end it there. So I kind of keep information together, the same type of information together. Now the last sentence, I want it to be strong. So that's why I made sure that was my last sentence. It is known as the world capital of salsa. Okay, good. Okay, so now I wanted to talk to you about one of the grammar tenses that we have. So one of the ways of grammar tense just means how do we structure a correct sentence in the correct time that we are speaking, grammar tense. So we have the present simple, and the present simple allows us to speak about what is happening, what is going on in this moment in time. So right now in our life, what is something we want to tell people or say about something else? So we use the present simple, which is very different to the past simple and the future simple. So it's about speaking about, you know, facts and information and things that are happening now. So how do we create the sentences? What are the rules? Let's look at that. So you can see the present simple. Okay, the present simple. So as I said, we have the past, we have the future. We are here right now in the present, in this moment, at this very moment. So if I want to give a positive sentence, that's also called an affirmative. And a positive sentence is something like saying, I live in Australia. You know, she lives in Australia. My friend lives in Brazil right now. I am a teacher. I work as a teacher. So that's just a positive affirmative sentence. So I have a subject to start my sentence. As you know, it's I, you, he, she, it, we, they. So you must know that. That's just very basic. But then you can say the subject is Maria, my mother. So you can start the sentence by being more clear who you're talking about. And then you have the action. Now, this is the only tense. That means the only grammar part that we put an S only for he, she, or it in, we add that S to the verb. So only for he, she, it. But if not, I, we, I, you, we, and they all have just the verb as it is. So that means that the verb can be study, speak, listen, write, read, whatever the action is, we don't change it. We don't add an ED. We don't add an ING. We just have the action as it is. But we do add an S only for he, she, and it. Now remember, it is not an object, not a living object. So it's, for example, Colombia, it has so many people. Another non-living object is maybe, my dog. My dog eats so much food. So this one. Sorry, it is a living object, a dog, but we usually say it for it. Okay, we can make a negative sentence. And to do that, this is where we use don't. Now, don't is only for I don't, you don't, we don't, they don't. And doesn't is the one for he, she, it. So you got to remember only he, she, it, you put an S to the verb. And if you want to make it a negative, you say doesn't and then the verb. So an example of a negative sentence in the present simple is something like, I don't speak Spanish. So speak is the verb. I haven't changed it. The verb is to speak. That's the infinitive. So I take that verb, speak, and I put a subject. I don't speak Spanish. That's true information right now. I don't speak Spanish. But 10 years ago, I did because I studied it. But now, in my life, I don't speak Spanish. I don't take the bus to work. I don't see, maybe I don't go to the beach very often. I don't, I don't go hiking very much. So it's just information like that. Information about me right now, around this time in my life. Now we can ask questions. Now to do that, you have to say do, which we take from I, you, we, they, or does for he, she, it, and then you put the subject and then the action. So for example, I can ask someone, do you live in Colombia? Maybe I'm speaking to someone online. Or, do you read a book every day? Do you study every day? Do you watch Star Wars? Do you know Maria? So that's a present question. I'm asking something now to someone in this moment. And they can answer, yeah, I do. Yes, I do. Or no, I don't. Now, you don't need to repeat the whole action. Yes, I do know Maria. No, I don't know Maria. You just can say, yes, I do. No, I don't. And again, yes, we can say, yeah. Or you could use one of the 6 W's. So that's what, when, where, why, which, or how. And then you put the do or does here, subject, and the action. So for example, do you like art? What do you do for work? Or what do you do for living? When do you see your family? Which movie do you like the most? Okay, so I'm not asking him about last night or in the future. Right now, which movie do you like the most? Why does he sit in the corner all the time? How do you take your coffee? That means, how do you like your coffee? Do you want sugar? Do you want milk? How do you like your coffee? How do they know each other? So maybe you are telling me about 2 people and I'm saying, oh, how do they know each other? What does she study? Or as I said about your husband, I said, what does he do now? Where is he? Is he working, studying? What does he do? So same thing, because I'm asking Eloise now in the moment, what does your husband do? Where does she work? What time does she get up? What time do you get up? What does she, when does she work? At what time? Where does she live? What does she do? Does he work in an office? Where does he travel to? What languages does he speak? I mean, you could see there's lots of questions that we can ask someone. We want to know something about now, this moment. So we could see in number 6, the first one says, I live or I don't live in the city center. So which one is true for you? So for me, it's I don't live in the city center. Okay, so that's using a negative. I don't live in the city center. So you have to pick it for yourself. For number 6, which one is true for you? Do you live in the city center or you don't live in the city center? Number 2, I have a car. So I'm going to pick I have. If you don't have a car, you make it a negative. Mine was affirmative, a positive. So I said I have, and then I added an object, a car. I don't go to school because I finished. So you would tick I go to school. By bus. Sorry, this was telling us by bus. So mine was I don't go to work by bus. I eat in cafes at lunchtime, or I don't eat. Yeah, I sometimes eat. So I'm going to go with the positive. Yeah, I eat at cafes for lunch. I meet friends in the city center after work. Not all the time. So I might say I don't meet my friends in the city center after work. And I like shopping in the city center. I made a positive sentence. So for you, if it's I don't like, you pick I don't like. So number 7, we're making our own sentences. Australian people love coffee. Australian people don't like winter. So can you see how these are all facts? Peruvian people eat a lot of traditional food such as pollo a la brasa. True. Brazilian people like barbecues. Yeah, fact, true information. Right now, Brazilian people like barbecues. My family prefer to spend the holidays at the beach. Okay, so it's not talking about a particular time like yesterday or, you know, what happened in the future. It's just now in general. Every Christmas, Colombian people eat dinner together. So we can see the action. We haven't added an ED or ING. Colombian people work more than 8 hours a day. So Colombian people work very hard. In Colombia, some people spend their money on food more than other Latin American people. My family play sports every day. My friend likes to run because remember it's a he, she, it. We add an S to the verb. So my friend, he likes to run. In Sao Paulo, I leave the house early to go to work because of traffic. My sister and I make cookies on Saturday. So we can also use the present simple when we talk about like a routine. What do you usually do in your week? I wake up usually at 6 o'clock. I enjoy swimming. I go swimming on Sunday and Thursday. So I can tell you about my routine. What do I do in my week? And I use the present simple. I do this, and I can say how often. I go to the beach once a week. I see my friend maybe once a month. I eat at restaurants maybe once a week. Okay, so it's a routine. You know, what do I do more than once? Okay, I wanted to talk now. We've been talking about places of where we can visit. We've talked about our cities. We've used adjectives to say what it looked like. And we talked about time. But now we are going to talk about places of work. So when we have a job, everybody, it depends on the job. There's different places of work. So for example, I am a teacher, so I work in a classroom, or my job is in a classroom. It's in a building in a classroom. So we're going to look at some examples. Thank you. So we have here in an office. Okay, so in an office would be someone like, what do you reckon? I won't say the answer, but I'll give you I won't say the answer that we need in our book, but if you work in an office, maybe you're an accountant, maybe you're an assistant, like a admin, you know, you do all the computer work for a company. Accountant. An accountant works in an office, How about on a ship or boat? On a ship or boat would be a sailor. Yeah. On a plane, who would work on a plane? The flight attendant or a pilot. Yeah. So you got a flight attendant, a pilot. Who would work in a hospital? A doctor, a nurse, and the people that will give you like they take your blood, there's lots of a gynecologist, someone that does, health for women. So many kind of jobs work in a hospital. And in a restaurant, who would work in a restaurant? A waiter, yeah, a chef. Yeah. Who would work in a classroom? A teacher. Yeah, a teacher. And in a shop, now a shop could mean maybe it's a clothing shop, maybe a jewelry shop, maybe a telephone, electrical item. So who would work in a shop? A sales assistant. That means that they help to sell something. So remember, a shop can mean all of those things that I talked about. So let's listen to a conversation with people talking about their job and then seeing which job they do. Okay, so we're going to listen to a conversation.
Track 33, Unit 3B, 1. Beverly Goodman is a marine archaeologist, and she works for National Geographic. She has an office, but she doesn't work there very often. She usually works on her boat in the Mediterranean and looks for objects from the past under the sea. 2. Roger Mason is 17. It's his last year at school, and he has exams soon. Next year, he wants to travel around the world. So at the weekend, he works in a shop for extra money. 3. James Harding is a tour guide in London. He doesn't live in London, but he takes tourists around the city centre. James speaks English, French, and Japanese. So he works with tourists from France and Japan.
So Beverly Goodman is an archaeologist. So that's a job where they look at the ground, they look at like fossils and things that are from the ground. She studies, so make sure you can see the present simple. She studies places under the sea. Roger Mason is at school. He wants to travel around the world. He works. Now in Australia, we say on the weekend because this is a British book. So make sure we say on the weekend. So anytime you see at, make sure it should say on the weekend. And James is, so we're using the verb to be to talk about our job. So James is a tour guide. So he shows people around and gives information about places of the city. He speaks 3 languages. He works with tourists from England and France and Japan. Good. Okay, so back to the rules of the present simple. He works. We know that for he, she, it, we add an S. She studies. So if it ends in a Y, the verb, we have to take off the Y and add an IES. She. He has exams soon. And a negative, he doesn't live in London. So in affirmative sentences, remember that means positive sentences. How does the verb change for he, she, it? Let's look at our rules. How do we make an affirmative for he, she, it? We add an S to the action. And in negative sentence, what is the auxiliary verb? That means what is the helper verb? Negative. So not the main verb. What is the auxiliary verb? Don't or doesn't. Okay, don't or doesn't is how we make a negative. So let's look back at this paragraph. And we're going to add in the verbs in the present simple. So this is a very good example. So Beverly Goodman is a marine archaeologist. That is her job. And she studies. And she studies places under the sea and objects from the past. She has. Now have for he, she, it becomes has. She has an office, but we need a negative, but she doesn't work there very often. Normally, she works on her boat. Make sure there's an S because it's she works on her boat. She gets up. Now, if you have 2 words as the action, you put the S to the first word. So she gets up, she makes up her bed. So she gets up just after 5 o'clock. That means not 5 o'clock, but a little bit after. And she meets, make sure you can, and pronounce it very strong, the S. And she meets her team for breakfast at 7 o'clock. She starts work after breakfast and we need a negative, and she doesn't finish work until the evening. Okay, we have another information about an archaeologist, Dr. James E. Campbell. Which of these actions are you going to pick? Lives. Yep, make sure there's an S. Lives in England. And he is an archaeologist. He works at home. So he doesn't have an office. So we need a negative. Yeah. So he doesn't have an office because he works at home. Yeah. But even though, I mean, his home would be his office. So he yeah, I think he travels. Yep. He travels to different places around the world. And he studies. Yep. Make sure it's IES. So he studies ancient places. James speaks 3 languages: English, French, and Arabic. Okay, so just with some pronunciation, when we are really adding that S, when we're adding that S to our action word, we need to know how we pronounce it. There's a little bit of 3 different sounds. Now, the first sound is if the action word ends in a CH, SH, or Y, then it becomes like finishes. You've got the is, teaches, studies. So it's like a is. Only if the action ends CH-SHY. So you got like church, teach, study, play. So play would be, how would you pronounce play? For he plays soccer. Okay, because it is, he plays. Now, if the action word ends in a consonant, that means that not A, E, I, O, U, the vowels, but in a consonant. So K, T, L. Then you add an S, but it's like a snake. So he works, he meets, she starts, he speaks, she travels. So it's a sound. Very different to is. It's a snake, snake. Now, if the action word ends in a vowel, that means A, E, I, O, U. So, for example, live ends in an E, go ends in a G, O. The pronunciation is like a bees. So, she lives in Colombia. He goes to work at 10 o'clock. So, it's a Z, like a bee. Lives, goes. So can you hear the ending to the he, she, it, the three different sounds? That you do add an S, they all have the plural, well, it's not the plural, but it's the he, she, it, S to the action, but it's a different sound depending on the ending of the verb. So you have to look at the ending of the verb. So you have to know your verbs, to study, to sleep, to speak, to write, to dance, to sing, to travel, to work, to meet. Whatever the verb is, look at the ending and make the correct sound. So this is a is, this is a s, and lives. So don't worry if I can't pronounce it, but it just takes practice. So let's practice. If I look at number 8, we're going to make some sentences with verbs like live, study, do, speak, get up, meet, work. So let's hear your pronunciation. This is just an example. We'll start with Eloise. How would you say this pronunciation? How would you say this sentence? No, where does your sister live? Because it's got the does.
Where do your sister live?
Where does?
Where does
Yeah.
your sister live? She lives in Lima,
Yes.
Peru.
Yeah. So we've got here lives. We know it's like the bees. Lives. Yeah. Phone. You can read this one as an example. So we're just looking at the pronunciation. Study. He studies. So Brazil. At uni. Yeah, at university. So we'll make this one at university. Okay, so studies. Remember, that's this one is. He studies in Brazil at university. Okay, Edward, that's your sentence. Okay. Yeah, we don't have because we had a negative, that's why we don't put an S. Back to Eloise for this sentence.
Which language do you speak? I speak Portuguese and German.
Yes, maybe I'll change this to which language does your mum speak? just so we can practice the pronunciation. She, and then how would you say this word, action word? She. Yeah, exactly. So we know we have a consonant here. So speaks is like the snake. She speaks, works, meets, starts. Let's go back to faux. Sorry, that's a mistake. I usually get up at 8 a.m. So let's change this. What time does your husband get up? So we're going to change it to he usually gets up. So it ends in a consonant. So gets, like the snake, gets. And we'll do one more for Edward. Maybe we'll do this one. What time does she start work? She. Okay, what's that one? And this one has time in it, so it's a good practice of. Yeah, perfect, at 9 a.m. Okay, good. Let's go to looking at number 10. So we have to rearrange to make sentences. What does she study? She's a marine archaeologist. So remember, we use the verb to be to talk about our job when we respond. I am, she is, he is a doctor, they are doctors. Number 2, what does she work? Sorry, number 2, what does she study? So that means what course, what does she study? Number 3, where does she work? Number 4, yeah, what time does, it's like a z, this one. So be careful, there's a snake, but then there's the z, the b, does. And the last one.
When does she start work?
Yeah, when does she start work? Okay, we have a conversation. So the first one is where, and then we've got a response in England. So if someone is saying where, maybe the question is, where does he live? Because we want to know about location. Where does he live? Where does he work? See you tomorrow. Where does he travel to next week? Where is he now? Okay, they're the same question. Where is he now? Where does he live? Where does he work? In which country? Where does he travel to? Number 2, if an answer is he's an archaeologist, so we're asking about someone's job, how do we ask about someone's job? What does he do? Or what does he do for a living? Or what does he do for work? So 3 different ways, they're all the same. It doesn't matter which one you use. If I want to respond with, no, he doesn't, he works at home. So what could a question be? Does he work in an office? Because look at the response. No, he doesn't. So remember, if we have a response with do or doesn't, or does, then it means the question was with do. Remember, we always ask a question and respond with the same grammar word. So if I said the answer as I responded to different places around the world, what do you think a question could be? Yeah, so where, because where we use it to talk about places. So where does he travel to? Where do you go on, where do you go for your holidays? So I'm talking about places. So where do you enjoy going? Where are you going next week? Where does he travel to? What languages? Now, if I answered English, French, and Arabic, so what must be the main verb? What languages does? Languages? Yeah.
What languages does he speak?
Yeah, exactly. So what languages does he speak? Okay, now we're gonna do 12. You can go together because perfect. We need partner. When you do number 12, yeah, so you can do number 12 together. You have to, one person is student A, the other person is student B, and you're going to exchange information about someone. So these are the kind of questions. Who does Joel work for? Because remember, Joel is he, she, or it. So who does Joel work for? Or maybe we'll do it together. So who does Joel work for? So if we go to page 154 or 157, we've got the answers. So who does Joel work for? He works for, what can we see as the answer? He works for, so I know it's hard because you gotta look at both 154 and 157. So an answer could be he works for a food company. He works for, well, in this case, it's got the name of the company. So he works for National Geographic magazine. He is a photographer, but who does he work for? What company name?
National Geographic magazine.
Yeah, exactly. So be careful with those. I didn't ask what his job was. I want to know which company. So he is a photographer, yes, but he works for National Geographic magazine. So he works for a magazine company. Now, if I said the question, where does he work? All over the world. Can you see the answer? He works all over the world. Or, he works in the city center. He works in McGill. You can talk about a suburb, a location. He works in Brazil. Maybe, he works in a different country. He works all over Argentina, whatever. So we can have so many different places where. Where is about location. So the answer was he works all over the world. If I said, does he speak English? Now remember, we've got a does or do question. So you have to respond with, does he speak English? Yes, he does. Yeah, can you see that? Yes, he does. Does he speak Spanish? No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, so you have to respond with the do or doesn't, but you don't need the full sentence with the action. So does he speak Spanish? No, he doesn't. You have to complete that sentence. You can't just say no. I mean, you could say no, but no, he doesn't. It's more common. If I said, what time does he start work? Yeah. Yeah. And another sentence. He starts work at 9 a.m. until, what about if I give you that work? He starts work at 9 a.m. until, that means until 6 p.m. Yes, until 6 p.m. So you could say he starts work, you could say from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. or he starts work at 9 a.m. until, that means, and he finishes until 6 p.m. Okay, so we did that part together. Now, next lesson, so we'll finish here. I'll save that. And next lesson, we're going to be talking about places again and languages. So we're going to read an article together and just really make sure that we can look at our present simple, look at places, be able to talk more about places. And then later, we'll also be doing places in a city. So we're going to start giving people directions. How do you get somewhere? You know, people want to know, where can I find the bank? How do I get to the library? So now we can tell them directions, how to go somewhere. Okay, so we're going to be talking lots and lots about places and, you know, being very confident that you can say what you think about a place and how to give directions. Someone wants to go somewhere. You need to tell them how to get there. Okay, so that's the next lesson, and we'll see you then.